Today we're in Ypres, or Ypres, Wipers even, as the British Tommies who were here during the war would have called it. You can see behind me the Menin gate, and we're here in the Ypres salient area to look at some fascinating then and now photos from the Great War. The British first moved into the area around Ypres in 1914, and they remained here right through the war until 1918. 1914, as those lines were established through this area, saw the first Battle of Ypres, the defence of Ypres. 1915 saw the second Battle of Ypres when the Germans tried to advance through this area. 1917 saw the third Battle of Ypres as the Commonwealth troops tried to push forwards, commonly known as the Battle of Passchendaele. Spring 1918 saw the Battle of the Lys in this area as well, and then of course later in 1918 the Commonwealth British offensive moved forwards. Sometimes you'll hear those two referred to as the fourth or fifth battles of Ypres. But nonetheless, there was fighting right through the war in this area. In fact, the British and Commonwealth troops account for 250,000 casualties in the Ypres salient. That's 1 in 4 of their total casualties from the Great War. Now, of course, there was an awful lot of fighting in this area during that time, but there were also a lot of photographs taken. And today, we're going to head around the area of the Ypres salient, and we're going to take a look at some fascinating then and now photos. Let's go. Now, we're going to come back into the centre of Ypres in just a little while, but to start with, we're actually going to head further north in the Ypres salient, and let's just touch on that. So the Ypres salient, a phrase that you always hear and a lot of you will already know what it means. So the lines came down and then kind of around and created like a bulge around Ypres. That bulge was called a salient, and that's why you hear this area referred to as the Ypres salient. And today we're going to be heading around different areas of that salient, and we're going to start just ever so slightly north of Ypres at Essex Farm to take a look at our first photo. Let's go. Okay, so for our first photo that we're going to look at, we've come just ever so slightly north of Ypres, and we're here at Essex Farm Cemetery, or at least just next to the cemetery. The cemetery is just over there. Now, we've been here before, and we made a video here, and you might recognise this spot because these are the dugouts just next to Essex Farm Cemetery, and this is that famous site where John McCrae wrote that poem In Flanders Fields. It was right when he was working here in these bunkers at this aid station when he wrote that poem. Now, there were some wartime photos taken here. Now, originally these dugouts weren't concrete like we see them now. They were kind of wooden structures and they were sandbagged, and later they were turned to the concrete that we see today. We've got a photo that was taken in this area in sometime in 1916. So we're going to try and line that up and have a look at that now and then photo. Okay, so here we are looking at the dugouts here at Essex Farm in 2025. And here's a look at what they looked like in 1916. You can see the sandbag and the wooden structures. And that's what this area looks like today. So there we go, it's our first then and now photo looked at, one of many that we're going to do today. So let's move on to our next spot, and from here we're going slightly further around the Ypres salient. We're headed to Tyne Cot Cemetery. We've got some really interesting then and now photos that we're going to go and take a look at there. Let's go. So here in the centre of the Tyne Cot Cemetery, you've got the cross of sacrifice, and that is built on top of what was the German bunker, and you can still slightly see a little piece of the bunker, or the surface of the bunker, through that gap in the middle. Well, during his visit here in 1922, King George went up on top of this bunker with some of the other dignitaries who were here, and there was a photo taken, I believe from around this kind of angle, and that photo is right here. there we go. We've also got another photo of that same visit in 1922 that was taken from slightly further over to the left. So let's head over there now. Okay, so the second photo we're going to look at, and I think I'm in sort of the right spot. It's actually kind of hard with a couple of these because it does look very, very different from how it did in 1922. But the next photo that I've got is from that same period of time during the visit, and here we have it. You can see the bunker in the background over the shoulders, which of course would have been sat right there where the cross is right now. There we go. Okay, we've got one more photo where we just need to head over in this direction. Okay, so just slightly further over at this kind of angle, looking back towards what would have been that main central bunker, is our last of the 3 photos here at Tyne Cot. Okay, so here we go, looking across towards the centre there. There we go, photo taken from somewhere roughly around here, possibly slightly further to the left or maybe slightly closer, but pretty much the right kind of spot. Okay, there we go, 3 really interesting photos from here at Tyne Cot. From here we're going to head over to the area around Hooge, specifically to Hooge Crater Cemetery. That's going to be our next stop. We've got a couple of photos over that way that we're going to take a look at. Okay, so for our next photo, we've come over to the area of Hooge, or the Hooge Crater Cemetery. There's one photo that was taken here of the cemetery just after the war, which we're going to try and line up and look at a then and now. Now, I've actually got a whole other video coming from this area and talking a bit more about the Hooge Crater Cemetery, so make sure you check that one out. But for today, we are here to look at this then and now photo that was taken just here in this area. Okay, so we have just come down towards the bottom of the Hooge Crater Cemetery, and looking up in this direction we've got a photo that was taken. Now I believe it was taken here because in this photo, which you'll have a look at when I see it, you can see a little post which represents row L of the cemetery, and just here in front of us this is row L. So I believe taken from around this spot we have got this photo. Hooge Crater Cemetery. I haven't been able to date this photo specifically. If anyone can date it, then please let me know in the comments, but I believe this was post-war, because you can see all of the concentrated graves in the photo. But a photo taken just here, a Hooge Crater Cemetery. Okay, so from here we're going to move up to an area just outside the cemetery where we're going to look at actually one of the most famous photos taken in this area during the Great War. It's a photo a lot of you will recognise because it is used in a lot of different places when people are talking about sort of Passchendaele. It's a photo that really shows the carnage of that landscape. So let's head up there and take a look at our next photo spot. So for our next photo, we've just moved up slightly along the road from the Hooge Crater Cemetery to an area just next to what was Chateau wood. Now there's an area here of kind of trenches and like some shell craters and stuff that you can have a look at. You have to give a donation to the, I think it's a hotel just here, and you can come into this area and have a look. It's really fascinating. I recommend you do. Really cool to have a look around. Maybe we'll explore this area a bit more in another video at some point, but we've just come over here. Now we have to use our imagination a little bit with this one, because Chateau wood is an area where some of it has been redeveloped, and in some opinions slightly controversially, but I guess where the modern world carries on, there is a large theme park that has been built in this area. So some of Chateau wood has been redeveloped. But we're going to look over in this direction and talk about a very famous photo that was taken just in this area here. So if you come into this area here, which was sort of just next to Chateau Wood, you can see some of the kind of bunker areas and dugouts and the trenches that are in here. But we're actually interested in this direction here. Now beyond the fence you can see some bits of a roller coaster, and there's a big old theme park over in this area here. Now it's going to be very difficult to get the exact spot. I've seen online people share opinions on where the exact spot of this photo was taken, but somewhere just out here ahead of us in Chateau Wood, this very famous photo was taken. There we go. A lot of you, I'm sure, will recognise this. A photo taken in Chateau Wood. Now this is a photo that was taken by an Australian photographer by the name of Frank Hurley, and it was taken on the 29th of October 1917, so right in the height of that third Battle of Ypres, the Battle of Passchendaele. So much carnage in this area that you can see in the photo here, taken somewhere just in this area, somewhere out there ahead of me, probably in the grounds of what is now the theme park at Chateau Wood. Okay, so from here we're going to head back into the centre of Ypres to have a look at our final few photos, some fascinating photos that were taken in and around the centre of the town. Let's go. Okay, so we've just come back into the centre of town now in Ypres, and we're here just by the Menin gate to do our next then and now photo. There's a really interesting one that shows this area just after the war, before the gate was there. Let's take a look. So just in this area down here, so we're looking towards Ypres here, and you can see through the archway of Menin Gate, you can see the Cloth Hall. Well, in 1919, before the Menin Gate was built there was this photo right here. So let's bring the photo in. There we go. So we are looking down the road towards the Cloth Hall in the place where the Menin Gate Memorial now sits. Thought this one was a fascinating photo, taken in 1919. Okay, so to start with, we've come down here by Cloth Hall. Now I should say it's a really busy area where we are, so sorry if the noise is a lot, but behind us here you can see the Cloth Hall, and this is an interesting one because we've got two different photos taken from roughly this same kind of spot, 2 years apart in 1916 and 1918. So really interesting couple of then and now photos that not only can we compare with today, but we can also compare with each other. So let's take a look at the two of those now. Okay, so this first photo that we're looking at now, I think I'm in roughly the right space. If anything, I would be slightly further over to the right, but as you can see, there is a building right here, and as you'll see in the photo, that building was destroyed by that stage. But this is a photo that was taken in May 1916 in this area. So let me bring it in. And there we go. You can see just kind of above my thumb in that photo is a road coming out, which I believe is this road just here. And you can see again what I mean. I kind of would be sort of in the middle of the destroyed remnants of the building here to my right, but I can't do that because the building is now rebuilt. But roughly in this spot is where this first photo was taken. Now you can see the damage to the Cloth Hall. Quite substantial as it was, but if we look at the next photo taken 2 years later, you can see how it has been destroyed even more, and in fact almost completely destroyed. So let's take a look at the next photo. Okay, so the second photo we're going to look at, now I would be even further over to the right for this one, but again I can't do that because of the buildings, but here is the second one that we're looking at. Now you can see the damage here. I mean, almost just the devastation of the building that's currently to my right, the next building up the road, and the actual Cloth Hall itself is almost completely destroyed. This is a photo taken in this area in 1918, compared to how it looks today. A thriving, busy little town with people everywhere. Wow. Okay, so we've just moved up the road slightly from where we were to the kind of front side, or the side nearer to the Menin Gate, and we've got one photo taken from this angle just here. Okay, so here in the centre of Ypres you can see the Cloth Hall in the background, and here is the photo that we've got taken just here. You can see the ruins of Cloth Hall, and the horses and some of the guys coming past. Now I believe this was taken, I think 1918 this photo, but again I haven't actually specifically been able to date this one, so if anyone does know, let me know exactly when you think this was taken. But I think it was taken later on, because if we look at the photos we saw from the other end of the Cloth Hall, the level of damage kind of matches up with that 1918 photo, so I would guess it was around then. It's definitely later in the war though, but nonetheless another fascinating then and now photo of the Cloth Hall in Ypres. So that's us finished in Ypres, again just finishing up here by the Cloth Hall, taking a look at some of those fascinating then and now photos. Now there are loads of photos taken in the Ypres salient area through the course of the war, so this might well be like a part 1, and there might be a part 2, 3 even. I want to try and do some of this kind of stuff down in sort of the Somme and other regions as well. So if you do enjoy it, let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, do me a favour, do all the YouTube stuff here on the screen for me, because it helps me out loads and loads. If you wanted to support the channel, you can do that as well. A couple of different ways, and again the links are in the description. You can check out my Patreon page where you can actually support the channel on kind of a more regular basis, or if you just wanted to support me as a one-off, that's totally fine as well, and you can do that via the link to buy me a coffee in the description below. But you know what, liking, commenting and watching my videos supports me in its own way, and so I'm very, very grateful to all of you guys who do that. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.